Coming to you live from the Pensado Theater at the all-new SAE Los Angeles campus. Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Studio 202 DC, Avid, and The Recording Connection.
Our guest can go from roots to rock, a serious audio stud. He's the Pensado Lucky Rabbit's Foot. Lots of firsts with him, and today, yet another one. We've got updates and announcements galore. We're shiny and new. Dave, grab the keys. Let's take this baby for a spin.
Okay.
You're at the place, the new place, our place. It's truly Pensado's Place.
Yay. Man, whoa!
That's a good one.
I don't know how you pulled this off, my friend. Guys, we're in our new place. Glad to have you with us, and hopefully you feel what we're feeling and are proud of us too. So, my friend, you've done a spectacular job. Single-handedly put this whole thing together with the help of a lot of great people.
Yeah, that's for sure. And really because of them. You know, It's really because of the audience that gives us this opportunity. So we got a lot of stuff to get to. Should we get to it?
Absolutely.
You proud of this spot?
Beyond that.
Pretty cool, right?
Pretty cool.
Hi, gang. How you been? Just want to say thanks to each and every one of you for your patience, support, kind words, tolerance, and all that you've extended us. Both through the 5 years and 200 plus episodes and this transition period in particular. Like and subscribe if you would, be so kind. Want to take a quick left turn and do a couple of words on achievement in class. Everyone's experienced achievement. That's when you fight hard and beat down whatever the challenge is that's in front of you. That feels really great for your spirit. It gives you confirmation that you're worthy, right? I mean, it's something that feels good. And then class to me is really human currency. You trade with it, it defines you. In Pensado land, we believe in it heavily. We try to conduct ourselves accordingly. We demand it of our team. This week on Tuesday night, the sports Emmys were given out, and Ernie Johnson of Inside the NBA, which is a show we've been compared to. I don't know if I'm Barkley or you are, I'm not sure who it is. I hope I'm Ernie. He won an Emmy for hosting, which is a huge achievement. In a monumental act of class, he turned around and gave his Emmy to Stuart Scott's daughters, a legend who recently passed away. So an extraordinary class act at a time of high achievement. Here's the correlation. The Pensado Theater for us is a huge achievement. The class acts are the godfathers who went farther than we ever dreamed, right, to make sure this could happen for us and really happen for you. That's why we select our sponsor partners so carefully. We talk about them weekly, and we're awed by their support. Remember, they're supporting you as well. So, Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Isotope, Avid, Studio 202 DC, and Recording Connection, you are absolutely awesome. A couple of special thanks. First, Justin Pond, who heads up the SAE Los Angeles campus, and the SAE Global Brass have been extraordinary.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Justin is
unbelievable. Right?
This is happening because of Justin.
No question. To Troy Clare and Kevin Sanford, Julio Rocha, all the folks at Clare Broadcast, unbelievable. I don't have words to describe how well they've treated us. It just defies explanation. How do we talk about what they're doing for us?
Don't ask me that anymore. I quit. I can't describe. I mean.
I called Kevin Sanford last night, which would have been Monday night. He's in the Bahamas. I called him really late. We had some wrinkles we had to do this morning. He called Julio this morning. Julio showed up. We're here. He's actually in the audience as we do this.
Julio.
They have been extraordinary. Couple other folks. To PreSonus, Audio Technica, Absolute Rentals, and the ever-present, ever-brilliant Ron Dixon, our brother in D.C., never flinched in helping us. You take John McBride.
Well, Herb and I were talking on the way into the show today, and no endeavor on any level can succeed without some people that really believe in you, inspire you, push you when you need to be pushed, pick you up when you're down a little bit, come through in the good times, but even more importantly, they come through for you in the bad times. And John McBride has been that for us, and I'd do anything for the guy. Plus, he's just a great engineer, you know.
Well, that, you know, it's funny. I talked to him the other day.
Did you get that Kleenex endorsement?
I did.
told you to? Okay, good.
Thank you.
Try it out. See if it works.
Okay, let me see. It's really good. It's soft.
Oh, good.
And so absorbent.
Good. Kleenex.
John called me the other day, and he spent 20 minutes talking about how excited he was about a project he was going to mix. And I think at the end of the day, and I know we talk about him a lot, guys, and I know you guys put up with it, that's because he's special, because he cares about the right things in the right order. Cares about audio. He cares about teaching you. He cares about stuff. And when he cares about something, he puts pretty much everything in it. So the Pensado Theater.
John has no middle switch.
There's no middle
all
switch.
Or nothing.
And he's just like this black dude who sits on your left.
That's true.
That's why I love him.
You're black?
No.
Okay.
Latte. That's a different kind of
Latte.
So, needless to say, to our big brother, John McBride, this theater is mostly because of him. The ability to do this is because of him. His passion is crazy. So,
Can I toss something real quick?
You can.
And help me out, because I'm going to need your help on this one. But this, guys, what eventually all you guys are going to get to come through here and check this out whenever you want. But this is not just a theater. It's a special place where special history has been made. So not only the pressure that we feel from your generosity and your trust and faith you put into us, but we also feel pressure to uphold the past here, and we're going to go into a little bit of that today with our guest, Ross.
Yeah.
But the whole thing has come together, and it just feels like, it's hard for me to say the name of the show because it's my name, but it sure feels like the whole thing has just finally found a home. You know what I'm saying?
It is the place.
And not just any home, but a home that inspires us and pushes us to do things for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we've got the sponsors to do it.
Unbelievable.
We
are humbled. So, a couple of updates and then to our guests. We got fresh stuff headed your way, a broader, more expansive guest list. We've got more location pieces. We got a great location piece next week, an NBC show. You're going to dig seeing that.
We got Chongo over here.
Well, we're going to do him in a second. We have occasional, what Dave and I will call ITL shorts that we do right here at the desk. Might be on small product or hardware and stuff. We're going to get some global audio stories from all you guys around the globe, and a whole lot more that we'll share in upcoming weeks. One of the things we decided to do, we thought Corner Office was getting short thrift, so we're going to bring in Corner Office much earlier. Matter of fact, let's meet the hostess with the mostest. He is So you got some good stuff over there, John?
I got some really great questions for you guys.
Yeah, you guys gonna be ready? We won't catch you flat-footed when we come over and ask you stuff?
Promise not. You guys are in for a good one.
Cool,
Let's get it going.
Cool.
So
he gets his own theme music.
He does, and he's got a podium, and it's got a placard on it that says Corner Office. Although our guest thought it said Coroner's Office, which may be an indication of Chongo's personality, but we'll get to that. Our guest is coming off 3 Grammy nominations. This dude can go from Kebmo to Selena Gomez to Nightcrawler, the motion picture, which I happened to see. It was a pretty good flick. As a friend, he's got Just a Heart of Gold, and as an award winner, he's got the Pensado First Ever Gold Award. He is our buddy. There's a reason we have him first on everything we do. Please welcome our man, Ross Hogarth. What up, bro?
Much respect.
Absolutely. Well done. Fire away, DP.
Ross, I was checking up on what you've been doing and ran across some of your mixing philosophies, and I thought, man, I wish I could do that. Explain to me why I should.
Dave asking me mixed questions. This is an alternate universe.
No, like start fast and just get your ideas going, and then.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is the big picture. I think you have to focus on the big picture. I mean, in the end, that is, we want to try to sell emotion out of the speakers. So,
that's why you're hired, kind of, right?
Yeah, you gotta come in and see the finish line before you start, hopefully, and get some idea. So if I don't know what the finish line is, I need to get that song up. I need to get into the vocal. I need to get, because it's the DNA. It's finding the core, the DNA of a project, of a mix. So yeah, I like to just get everything up and get this, see what I'm dealing with, and a lot of times that'll open up either can of worms, or you'll see that certain sounds need some more love, are going to need love. And,
Something like a Keb Mo mix. How much time did you spend on it?
I have to say, I not to sort of paint myself into a corner, but on a record, for me not that every record isn't as important as
Just
the
answer
next.
the question, Ross.
Okay, I can sometimes spend up to 3 days a song, even more. If I take a day to get it right and sleep on it and get the next day to feel like, okay, I can give this to the artist to listen to, and then Keb Mo is gonna take maybe a day in having his ideas to come, get dialed in. And then maybe there's another day that is the finish line. And that's not, it's not over the top.
And that's not unusual.
No.
That's not unusual for him either.
Has to be great.
Hey, I was talking. There's an exception to every rule, and like I've always kind of thought that the way to approach life is to try and master one thing, and when you do that, you've mastered. Why are you smiling? You simultaneously master a lot of things, but you proved me completely and totally wrong. You started out doing every damn thing, and then kind of brought it in. Tell people, because I think it's important for a kid starting out. The main thing you did was you had a skill that people wanted, and you had a personality that people liked working with, and you were take it.
Well, I think one of the things that has served me well in my life, is to be a Swiss Army knife and not be and be humble about that. Like, it's okay to have a diverse taste in music, and it's okay to not, like, I didn't want to be the star. Like, I was standing on a stage, I had this epiphany when I was playing guitar that I would be in a crushed velvet suit in my 40s in the Midwest, and it scared the heck out of me.
How old were you?
I was like 15. I was like 15, and I
saw the vision.
flashed forward to like.
I think we all have that vision.
And you're
at
like,
some point.
I'm not going to make it as a musician. I could work really hard. I had already put in my outlier, my 10,000 hours or more. You know? And so what served me well at that point was the fact that I played drums when I was a kid. I played guitars and all stringed instruments. So I did. I went to the technical and the service side of things, where I'm now at that point was surrounded by the best musicians that I could be around and serving them. And I think it's really important to try to be around people that are better than you. And like
Always.
you said something about, like, even if you have whatever your ego's okay. That's your id. That's who you are. If it's in front of your talent, then you're, what did you say, 10% at some point we were talking. I think it's really important to understand your strengths and even your weaknesses. And then you just mentioned something about people skills, which I think a lot of people get mixed up about this music business we're in, and they think it's either about just the music or just the business or the music business. And it really is about people.
Period.
It is. It's
Absolutely.
connecting.
Absolutely. And I would, because I get accused of this a lot, but there's an old line, jack of all trades, master of none. I disagree with that. I think you can be a jack of all trades and master of them all too. And I think a lot of you guys do that. You get not pigeonholed, but you get credited to be one thing or another. But I know there's a lot of things that you do, and I know from representing him, there's a lot of things he does really well, and they all kind of combine to make the one thing you're credited for really good. But there's a lot of things that you do good because we don't do one thing.
You want to be a good human in the end and be whole and complete however that happens.
And have that apply across your
Yes.
life set. You know what I mean? Like I don't just co-host the show. There's a whole bunch of other things I do, but I try to do them all well. Right?
I mean, I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to go too much farther without really acknowledging the space that we're in right now. And I'm just not only flattered to be here and honored, but just the amount of work that it took you and Dave and the whole team to put yourself here in this amazing theater.
Tell us your connection.
Tell us the story.
Well,
There's
this
amazing
is crazy. I'm going to keep it short, but my lovely wife, who I've been married to, since forever almost.
Wait. Let me just do the setup. I call Ross to invite him on. He's driving through Indiana on the way to Sweetwater's. We're talking. I tell him why we wanted to be the first guest. We're both touch that it's important to Dave and I and important to you. And then I tell him where, and he says, dude, I have chills. And it got quiet for a second. And then he explained to me why.
Well, this theater we are in here, which is now the Pensado's Theater, which is amazing, dates back to the late 20s. My wife's grandfather and great uncle, her uncle Ralph and grandfather Eddie, were special effects and cinematographers back in silent movies, and then onward for their whole, up to when pictures, ended up having sound. But they used to use this theater. First off, they created a technology that they patented, which was then eventually made into the green screen. But because of solving problems like how do you take and make 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is something that they won the Oscar for special effects. They would shoot the water, the under the water, and they would go, and if, like they did Cleopatra, so they had to go to like Egypt, and then the actors would stand with the images being behind them.
Yeah.
And they created that technology.
Amazing.
So this theater was used, they used this theater for their for dubs and for a lot of the movies.
Was it called the Kodak Theater
This
then?
is called back then the Eastman Kodak Theater.
Wow.
And then cut to in the 80s, I'm engineering for Georgia Moroder, and her cousin was the projectionist here.
Oh God!
And so I would walk in the door here, and I go, "Oh, cousin Mike," and Chris would, we came down. I brought her down a couple of times to see, some of the dubs and stuff. So I've been in this theater. Her grandfather was in this theater,
Unbelievable,
working on epic, amazing films. And so the DNA that's in this theater is like part of my,
amazing.
My family, her family. It's
the notion that, it is just incredible. The notion that this theater has such a sound legacy.
Yes.
On the Eastman Kodak campus, now SAE in Los Angeles, was the theater where silent films became talkies, where the kind of inspiring work that was done and innovative work and Oscar movies were screened here and voted on, all kinds of stuff. And then for us to be stewards, which I think we are temporarily, but the way they've embraced us and allowed us to do this, I feel like we have something to carry on.
And it speaks to what you're doing here as Pensado's Place and how truly important, not like anything I have to say is that important, but the work that you guys do in just carrying on a legacy of with our friend at Blackbird John, a legacy of teaching and the underlying spirit of who you guys are. I just, again, applaud you.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
It means a lot to us. And I think what it means to you guys out there, I think I'm speaking to you and I want to hear your point of view, is that you're part of an awesome community. And it's a community that, if we're lucky enough to be part of the members that coalesce it, just know your power. It is awesome. We've tried to unleash it. We democratize the field. We think you're as good as us. We're just representing your interests. We bring you together. We got an award show we're going to announce soon that's going to honor some of you. And so we're just humbled that these opportunities keep coming. But I'll tell you what we're going to do with that. We're going to keep swinging the bat hard, knocking the ball, triples, home runs. If you think we've been aggressive, strap in, because we're going rolling in audio land. Trust me when I say that. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
One of the things about your career that I love is your diversity. And I think it comes a lot from, because I'll see your Facebook posts and so on and so forth, just your personal philosophy. It seems to me you're a guy who has broad interests and you care about certain things and you care about injustice. And I look at the records and music you do, you can go left, right, middle, roots, rock. Is it just who you are as a person?
Yeah, it is. I have to say that, and thanks for that. I really do believe that music truly matters. I believe that what we do in our lives matter. I believe that trying to make a difference matters. I believe that education truly matters, and like not teaching like somehow we are imparting wisdom. It's more like keeping the inquiry. That's a tough word for me to say, but the inquiry of music and life, and trying to uphold integrity. Those are important things that I learned early on from my mother and her best friend Pete Seeger. And integrity is a key word, you know. And sometimes it's not even, you know, it's not like the actual subject matter of the song I'm working on, because that's being a little overly important or something. You know what I mean? Like, not all music is going to change the world per se, but my integrity, how I approach that, and how I approach and honor the musicians I'm working with, and you know, because people really do put a lot of time, energy, and love into making music.
You know, one of the things about you, and let me just say this too, because you know you're really gracious with credit, and Ross really gracious with credit. You know, this union is you, buddy. You know, so what you do for our community and what you represent, which Ross, in my opinion, just described, has a lot to do with you got to be good with your technical stuff. You got to stay ahead. You got to be curious, but you have to have a point of view. You have to stand for something.
Absolutely.
Right? You can't just, and you have always been a beacon, in my opinion, not to make this a love fest for everybody. I think we're probably a little overwhelmed at our first show back. But I think these are important lessons in moving forward. I learned them from you guys in the audio community, and you know, I didn't come from the audio community, but I'm so inspired by it, that if you take a position and that if you want to try to be the best, that position helps you get there. It helps light your path and tell you where not to go and where to go. Am I close?
Yeah, I think
What do you
so.
think?
Well, I think the metaphor would be if you wanted to play in the NFL, you wouldn't try out for every position.
Right. You got to stand for something.
Well, you pick a position that your physical body is designed for, and I think.
Yeah, a word that popped into my mouth when you were talking was also understanding the word no.
Yeah.
Like
Important.
saying no, like not like no, that doesn't mean you suck, or that doesn't, it's like, no, I'm not the right guy for the project, or no, whatever no might mean. Like you're just saying, like if you're, you know, if you're, not that if you're 5'8", like I'm into hockey, the guy in the Flames who can score goals at 5'8", but there are not that many 5'8" players that are gonna make it to the NHL. So you have to be extraordinary at that. So be really good at whatever it is you're really good at, but understand your strengths.
And isn't it important, one of the things I like about both you guys, and a lot of our guests that sit to my left, is you have not let the flame die out of this. You know, that there's something, like we still, in some ways I still feel like a kid when we start a project, or even with this. Like we want to get to here and we want to do this. And I think, you know, I sometimes say to Dave, and I will say, let's not think about what we're getting achieved. We like, here's our metaphor. We're like Wile E. Coyote. We run off the cliff, but we just don't look down. And so we kind of stay in the air because we don't look down.
That's hilarious.
Right? And then all this stuff happens. But I think, you know, I never want, and I never allow our team to get comfortable about where we are.
Sure.
Because it just, so is it important that you're in touch with your passions as you mix and engineer and do stuff? Because you can't love every record, but you got to bring all yourself to it, correct?
Yeah, you got to, if you say yes to something, which is what I meant about no, when you say yes, you got to be 100% committed and in it. Like you then, and I do love what I do. I mean, if you choose, the quote is, you choose a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
And that doesn't mean it's not going to be hard work, because a lot of great opportunities in my life have been disguised as hard work. Like, a lot of people don't want to work. You know?
Oh, boy.
So it's like, that was, you know, you got a lucky break. Oh yeah, that lucky break was driving a truck, you know, with gear in it. You know, that was
for 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
right.
know what I'm saying? It's like, so yeah, passion is really key, and I am passionate. And sometimes people go, you know, you passionate to a fault or something, because you come off as mildly insane about something. Because when you're really excited,
it's exuberant.
yeah,
absolutely.
It's like, yeah, it's and constantly relearning or teaching myself, which is something that I love about teaching, is every time I go out and teach, I have to relearn what I'm about.
Right.
And if I'm going to give it away, I got to be able to do it from such an honest and really deep place, because you're gonna, kids are like the first people that find you out like that. If you're full of bull,
They'll
like,
call you on it.
well, they'll just feel it and they'll not connect with you.
That's absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
and recently I was just down in Nashville at Blackbird teaching at the Blackbird Academy for our dear, awesome,
Killer guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the Medicis
Yes, indeed.
of
What a
Great
You
call.
can tell you come from an art background,
Great
spent time
call.
in Florence.
Great call.
and going down to Blackbird to go teach at the Blackbird Academy and for those out there, De Medici was the one that in Florence that was the benefactor for some of the greatest
Everything.
and he was someone who would fund and support art and artists and the greatest art,
In fact, my statue is
the Pensado statue.
Well, no, the David statue of David.
The actual David.
You're covered in that one,
They
right?
didn't know my last name quite then. Although I must say, part of the anatomy is not accurate. It's a little small, but that's another subject entirely. So, speaking of guitars, Russ,
No, what do you think of them bears?
what can the average cat at home do to improve their guitar sounds? Because you and I get exposed to some guitar sounds that, or are we being like hypocritical in holding on to an old sound from the 70s and 60s, or are there guitar sounds have some room for improvement?
Well, the thing that I
That was
encounter,
delicate, wasn't it? Right?
No,
It's
the
done-
thing,
well done.
the thing that I encounter is because we're, a lot of stuff is in the box these days, and so there's a lot of the modeling that is out there, and I'm guilty of using it too, but I am also a believer in air. I like, or if it's not air, it's tubes. Actually, the push-pull of tubes, and so some of the like, there's a piece of gear that not to pump it too hard, but I gotta say, there's like, there is gear you can come out of the back of your speaker output into like a interface. And like Rivera has this Rock Crusher recording that has EQ that's modeled after a vintage 30 Celestion speaker, and you actually come out of the back of your head. So you get to use all your great heads without even recording the cabinet, which a lot of people don't have the space to record a 2x or 4x12 so you're not actually recording the speaker, because it is an attenuator where you can then go to a speaker and get the tone of a speaker in a very small space, like in a very quiet space.
You know I'm a guitar player, so I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. Are we being sometimes too judgmental in sticking close to our plexi Marshalls in terms of what something should sound like? Are kids coming up with great sounds that are modern that maybe we're missing? You think that's a possibility? Should we expand what we consider great? And by the way, you caught Herb's attention with great head, but we got those great guitar heads.
I understood right away.
It was a bad joke.
Yeah,
Sorry. Edit.
I have great guitar heads at home.
So is it maybe we're too locked into the sound of our youth, maybe?
I am. And yes, I am. And there's something great about great. I mean, there's a reason why certain sounds will always, I think, be great. And that's not to say that something new can't be great too. But at the same time, something that sounds a little harsh and plasticky, or a little uncomfortable to listen to, may not fit depending on your style of music. If that's going to be exposed, I think that's kind of part of the like, what role is the guitar playing in the track? If it's just going to come out of a little spot in a hole of a bigger picture, almost anything can make that sound. But if the sound is really holding up the left or right side of the speaker, or if it's a really important, it's like your vocal sound. I mean, a lot of people like say, well, I record my vocals on this mic or that mic. If it sounds good, it sounds good. If it sounds bad, there's just brown is brown and colorful is colorful. So I think when it comes to guitars, I am a bit, not a purist, but I don't like guitars that hurt my ears. And I find that sometimes the overly modeled or processed sounds are a little bit painful to listen to, where just a good head and you put like a simple mic in front of it, almost doesn't matter. It's going to sound good. You know, it's the source. You can't.
Well, maybe you're going for quickness and simplicity by just putting a mic in front of something. Maybe we should work harder on the sounds that don't sound good to make them sound good. Remember we were talking about you can take a guitar rig, a guitar and an amp. This guy plays it, sounds okay, and then Eddie comes by and plays it, and the same thing sounds completely different and amazing. Maybe substitute us engineers for that concept. Maybe we're not doing a good job to make it sound better because we're so tied into the past, you know?
So you owe some refunds to some people.
Well, no, that made mine sound good. I'm talking about him. I'm just being polite.
See, Dave's trying to. He's got me boxed into a corner here because
I'm gonna unbox you. Don't.
You know, it's like I'm gonna.
It's
I
a
do.
Pensado trap.
I have. Yeah, he's got me. He snared
No,
me.
no.
on that.
As a matter of fact,
I want it to be the have a heart trap, the one that you can just like
exactly.
Let the,
No,
You're
no
my guitar guru.
no, he gets you that bear claw thing on your ankle.
no animal injured in.
Yeah, no. Your ankle is snapped, and it's easier just to shoot you. Matter of fact, I think what we'll do is we'll go over to Chongor, and we'll get ready to ask him a question and see what he's got over there. Now, Chongor, you had a big noise, you had a big sound, and just demonstrate your name. Were you proud of that moment?
I'm so proud. All the Hungarians back at home are saluting.
There you go. Well, so then tee one up for our friend Ross.
This first one's from Jordan Pollock. How to use a little guitar amp to get a big sound? What's one of your favorite small amps?
That's a great question, and I gotta say, little amps create a big sound. That's the amazing.
Isn't that a dichotomy?
It is a dichotomy. It's amazing. It's like people don't realize that those massive sort of like amazing guitar sounds on Led Zeppelin are made out of little Supro. Like a lot of them.
Are they really?
Yeah, a lot of them is a little Supro, and even you go with a 12-inch speaker in like a Princeton or a Deluxe or a Vibrolux. 10 or 12. These are small combos. Combos are amazing amps, and frankly, even without pedals, the distortion is so natural if you just basically turn all the knobs all the way up. So it doesn't take a lot to get big sounds out of a small amp. Basically, if it sounds good in front, it usually carries a lot of weight in a track, right, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, it's just the weirdest thing. Tell me if this has any bearing. I'd been engineering about maybe a month, and my friend Larry Turner and I went into the studio with a 357 to see if we could record a gunshot sound. So we took a 421 and some phone books, and we shot it into the phone books. And when we went back to play it, we were so excited it sounded like it didn't sound like a gunshot. It's because there's just too much. Is that the same concept? A big amp puts too much into the room?
It's moving so much air that it can't be captured really except at such a distance. Mm-hmm. It's sort of the concept of the bagpipe. I mean, bagpipes are war instruments that are supposed to be listened to over the hill and dale to scare the heck out of the other, mm-hmm. You're coming upon the bagpipers were marching with the army, and when they hear the bagpipes, but when you're right on top of a bagpipe, it sounds like a clarinet. I mean, it's mm-hmm. you have to hear a bagpipe from a distance, amazing. Just like a gunshot or anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's the sound pressure level of the small amps put out. They're not moving so much air that it can't be captured, and it's also not filling up and compressing the space so much that it's like a voice. Mm-hmm. If you really want the loudest sound, have someone sing quietly.
So true.
You know?
So true.
The louder someone screams, the voice can only get so loud, and then the throat compresses.
Yeah, right.
And so it's like the sound, it's like the sound of Leonard Cohen or something. Mm-hmm. When you're hearing a voice like that coming out of the speakers, it sounds like the voice of God.
Wow.
So how does a ribbon mic figure into that? You're a big fan of the Royers. I love the AEA, Wes's mics.
Yeah.
Is there an affordable... well, both those products are affordable, but like an entry-level guy, is there like $100 ribbon, or are all ribbons equal? What do you get from a ribbon that you like so much? Because you like sleep with your ribbons, don't you?
I love, and I have loved ribbon mics from the earliest engineering that I did, and I believe ribbons hear sound.
You were known for blowing them up for a long part of your career too.
Well, I wasn't I wasn't known for blow. I wasn't like, hire Ross, he'll blow up your mic. It was on my business card. I actually kept
Well,
my
to be
friend in
fair-
business on the East Coast who
To be
was
fair, we all blew up ribbons. Go ahead, sir.
but yeah, it was like, yeah, I love the sound of them so much that like with Motley Crue, we had them on the amps and we were blowing them up, and I had to find out where to get them.
That was on Girls, 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 wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Great record. Whew, that was a
And
great
you know, that was a big part of my career was like figuring out, well, you can't get it that close. And then when Royer started feeding me their mics early on to beta test, I was the first guy to put it, a couple of fingers away from. I mean, I put it where I would put the 57, and that's something that I've been, espousing for a long time, is making sure the 57's in phase with the 121 or whatever Royer you're using. So to answer your question, first, the ribbons here sound, I think, more like your ears do. It's a sound, it's because of how they react to the sound pressure and then, transduce that, to me, what comes out of the speakers is more what my ear heard when I was out in the room. It has a more natural sound. And the other thing is most figure 8 patterns, most ribbons are figure 8, meaning they're listening to the front and the back. So you end up getting air on the backside that is actually a pleasant sound, which just as like a golden tip, figure 8 is not used enough in recording. Figure 8 is an amazing pattern that even if it's not a ribbon mic, I think if you have the availability of figure 8, try it, because it's a great pattern. 57s are not, they're just cardioids. So there are a lot of inexpensive ribbons that have shown up in the world now because ribbons were brought back into vernacular by the more recording. Royer was given a Grammy a few years ago. Some of us were sort of acknowledged as part of that.
Yep.
Myself, Al Schmidt, Eddie Cherney. some of us who have been using
Small names.
No, Al. He's
Jesus.
so there are a lot of companies that are putting out some really nice ribbons at affordable ribbons. I am a believer. I love the Royers, of course. Royer has some lesser expensive ones now than the 121. AEA, like you said. Cascade makes, Cloud. I don't really have a lot of those in my, collection because I really like the Royer. You can get them for
It works for you.
Yeah, it really does.
When you were working on the Eddie Van Halen record, I love the sound of that record. And I'm a guitar player, so I love the guitar sounds. But the bass sound was so different than any other EVH I'd ever heard. What did you use on the bass?
The bass sound is such a combo platter. It really is Wolfie. It's Wolfie and Eddie and I experimenting, and it starts with Wolfie wanting a lot of distortion, because that there was Wolfie's product of the modern rock.
Yep.
And so he wanted to, he didn't want it just to sound like, clear James Jamer. He wanted distortion.
Right.
So it started with like an EVH head and a cabinet. And then it was like, oh, well, Dad's like, hey, we'll try the Marshall. And so we tried, and then the Marshall. And it's like, oh, and then Fender gives him, this prototype that is like this modern bassman with this, big cabinet, and was like, okay, well, let's try that. And we start just piling on. And each one ended up having its own, like, character to add into the blend.
So you were miking each one individually or miking the sum from a distance?
No, each one individually, so you could actually blend. And then I added this other amp into this, like the B15, the old school, to add more tone in. And so you end up with this combo platter, and then the balance is this, you just sort of have to play with it. And phase was definitely an interesting endeavor when you have that much.
Did you add like a thermionic Culture Vulture or a plug-in distortion?
Well, the interesting thing is, on EVA on the VH record, I had a DI, but I never used it. It was like the DI actually was never. It's the one thing that is usually the only thing you're given. Like when I'm given a record, a lot of times it only has a DI. It doesn't even have an amp. On the Van Halen record, we created this monstrous bass, but never needed the DI because we had so much in that. So I never used a Culture Vulture or something on the DI, but that's something I do almost every record. That I do have something on there's some distortion on the bass of some sort, and a lot of times it's on the actual DI.
Gotcha.
Let's see what our Mr. Man over in corner office has. What you got, Chauncey?
This next one's from Raymond Comba. Does Eddie Van Halen record through guitar pedals?
Yeah, Eddie has his own. He's been using basically the same pedals for almost his whole career, and he actually puts them out through his own through EVH. He uses his wah. He uses his flanger, and
That's cool. He uses his own stuff.
yeah, and they're based in the MXR, the original MXRs, but he's modified them for his own use. But it's minimal. I mean, it really is minimal. I mean, there's obviously no distortion needed because there's so much distortion coming out of the amp. And so it's a wah and a
Does
flanger.
he use one of Bob's pedal boards?
No, Ed's got his own. His rack is actually designed by our buddy Dave Friedman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Dave's the one who's built Ed's
Yeah,
rack.
plus UAD just came out with his amp head that's
the Friedman
incredible.
head, yeah.
Yeah.
How's our friend Tim Pierce, by the way?
Timmy's great, and yeah,
Tell him we said hello.
I will.
He's
Yeah,
a great guy.
He's one of.
He's scary good.
Yeah, he is. Boy, he is.
So, when you're working with drums, more so on the mix side, do you use sample replacement at all? Not replacement, but
Yeah,
but like
supplement.
yeah.
Yeah, for a long time, it was the hardest thing to do to make sound natural, and it was always really frustrating. Wendell's, the triggers with the rolling delays coming out of the,
I
the sync
remember
head,
those.
everything
Roger
we could
Nichols.
do. And this is where Stephen Slate has, with Slate's Trigger 2, changed our lives here, because not only does it trigger fast, trigger dynamically, and trigger in phase, you can pile up sounds to build a snare or a kick drum or what you might need to actually sound natural enough to blend in and not just... Because the worst thing was when you sample replaced and you only had like 3 velocities in Sound Replacer and like Pro Tools, and it would be like da 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 da. It was like really obnoxious to hear in really honest music.
Right.
So the answer is yeah. When I need it, I do. I actually love Trigger. I think Trigger kicks butt. It's one of the most amazing plugins.
No, I got a question. Oh, you got a question?
No, I don't.
And once again, John McBride, the Blackbird drum pack. This
This is all John, all day show.
Well, I think.
I love John.
Well, and because you guys have taught there, what I keep seeing is that we're not trying to do a sales job on it as much as there's
We
only
just love 'em.
there's only a few people. The number of people who achieve that level of passion and excellence and care and want to move forward and still does the craft. Because see, to me, that's the big differentiation. He's still working.
Yeah.
Not sitting back saying, "This now I'm doing this." He's going out every day. He's on the road.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That makes a difference,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then what I find is students that go, when I went down and spoke briefly with you, but you've taught at length and you've taught at length, they're engaged. Like they made a serious commitment to get there. And their live school had a 90+% placement rate just this last quarter. That's pretty high, right? And you have to care about that to get that high. And what you have to care about is your arm has been in mothballs for 4 months. Now you gotta.
Herb. You know me better than that.
You've been practicing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got your batter's box
Of
thing.
course.
Oh no. Oh,
When you're up with a Hogarth, you got to bring your A
you gotta
game.
bring your heaters, baby. Bring your
Yeah.
heaters. All right, so I think we should roll batter's box and.
A la David Letterman. I've been watching, been practicing. Man.
Let's make it happen.
Ready?
Okay, here we go.
Strat or Les Paul?
Strat.
Rode or studio?
Both.
Good answer.
Point Dave.
Okay, sorry. For
Marshall.
what though? For what?
Hey, this is my show. Marshall or Fender?
Fender.
Favorite guitar pedal? He's
Wah
good,
wah.
Herb. He's good, Herb.
He's good.
Converters.
Crane Song and Black Lion.
You're getting kind of shelled.
Ooh. Okay, this is a trick question.
Okay.
Neve 1073 or API 550A?
Not only 550A, but 560. But API.
Showing off
API.
now.
API. And sorry, Neve lovers.
By the way, I second that.
He's actually staying at the plate pointing with the bat.
He's just getting
You know,
cocky.
that's
I'm like
that's a
pointing
Babe Ruth thing. Yeah.
Reverb.
Procasti.
Oh. 1176 or Distressor?
I got to go with Distressor because it's so versatile. It's so incredibly versatile.
Favorite plugin?
Today, this week,
No, last century.
I've fallen in love with Wave's J37 tape machine.
Me too.
Right?
Yeah, good
Oh
answer.
my gosh.
Auto-tune.
This is the answer, the one-word answer that you won't get, but it's Nigel. He's Tim Pierce's son.
Okay.
I don't do it. He does it. I won't. I don't do it. I can't do it.
But
Even
Nigel
if it's
does it.
Melodyne or Auto-Tune, Nigel does it because if I have to auto-tune it, you might as well give me an ice pick and shove it in my head. But yeah, when needed, Nigel.
Gotcha.
Secret weapon.
Remember Nigel?
Yeah. Nigel, you're out there. I hope you're working today.
If the Boogie Motel caught fire, what one piece of gear would you try to rescue first?
I would run out the door.
Your wife.
Yeah, with my family.
No. This is an audio show.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking you.
Well, it would have to be my small body Martin guitar. I would run out the door with that
Is
instrument.
it a 000?
Yeah, it's a triple aught. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
And the case that holds my microphones. I got a case that has my like C12 and so I would grab the guitar and I grab the microphones.
Subtract points. He had two answers.
I know.
Subtract points.
But still,
Distortion.
Awesome. Love it.
great answer.
Okay, and last, stereo bus.
I answered this last time, the same answer,
Hey, don't
Dramastic Obsidian, but I'm going to add to it with stereo mastering Pultex.
Oh, the ones with all the little knobs?
No, they just there's just stereo. They have detents, so you can you don't have to.
You got one?
Yeah, you can.
I want to see it.
Yeah, it's.
It was a tie, right?
No.
Oh no,
No, it wasn't close.
So you're saying I'm Pacquiao and he's Mayweather, right?
Kind of. Yeah. And
But-
it wouldn't
but
matter.
no
It wouldn't
torn-
matter if your shoulder was
No
okay.
torn.
Yeah, I was about to go there.
No,
You're faster than I am.
I give you points on this one because I had multiple answers. So
But nonetheless, you've maintained that long tradition.
Remind
of
me not to
musicianship.
have him back on the show.
yeah, we used to do that on the talk back, Mike. You'd fake that you were like had your finger on it. You go, that sounds great, and you go, dude's a loser.
Absolutely.
I'm a loser?
No, not you.
Not you.
I think
I'm
he
talking-
said-
I think it was just a
It
reference
was
to
a
another
reference.
point in
It was a
time.
reference
Absolutely.
to out there.
He did good, man.
To our audience. So, both you guys have these illustrious careers. These guys are facing a different landscape, right? You can't. The studio system isn't the same way. You can't go learn inside the studio.
Right.
Education can be costly, but I also see the move toward online education, other kinds of things where you can get more information. Not the same as you got to interact with people, as you talked about earlier. What advice do you give them? Where do they go? And I'll tell you what we did at Capital Jam, but what's your sense?
I think first off, this shows like your show makes a huge difference because whatever gets across the bridge is something that wouldn't be there. The people that you get on here, the kind of conversations you have are crucial. And then there is school. I mean, there wasn't when I was coming up or Dave was coming up. There really wasn't a place you could go that had legit training that you could get. And so I give massive props, and I put myself out there for Blackbird Academy, Recording Connection, Loyola Marymount, Berkeley School. All these schools have legit people in them, and that's where I put my time and energy when it comes to supporting the process of learning. Because I think the one thing you have to worry about on the internet, because truly, you guys will go out of your way to make sure that you're not putting out misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet. So if you believe everything you read on the internet, you're going to be in deep trouble.
You're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah.
It is. We are so selective about the schools that we associate with like you said, Blackbird Academy, this school, SAE Los Angeles, and this
That's it,
particular
yeah.
campus
Yeah.
has under this new leadership, has a really interesting direction. They understand the hybrid possibilities. Berkeley, I call Recording Connection like sort of this cool junior college where you can get something at a cost-efficient thing, get some mentorship on your way to other things. And we try to select those kind of partners, because if you get it wrong, to your point, you're screwed. I'll tell you one thing we did, and I want to get your take on it. We just did a thing in DC, which was a real big thing for us, and it came off really well. And we opened it up and we showed about 25 to 30 places in audio that you could look for jobs. Because the other thing we say to people is, it is honorable to go want to become you and do records, but it's not the only thing out there.
It's tough. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. It's really changed. The economics have changed, but there's a number of audio jobs and audio spaces that, look at it this way. Tell me if this makes any sense to you. One of the things I wrote was, there's no place in the world that is silent. There's no place where there isn't audio, right?
Absolutely.
That means your jobs are unlimited. If you expand your head to what is it, airline stuff? Is it military forensics? Is it medical? Is it, the plane that went down? The guy crashed his plane. There was an audio guy who picked up out of the black box, and he was banging on the door trying to get in. That's how they found out. Some audio guy got that and heard that and figured it out. So I'm just saying that if you expand your horizon, you expand your opportunities. Fair statement or not?
Yeah, 100%. But also, we were talking about mastering one thing or many things, and I think probably in today's world, Ross's approach is probably the correct one, because he has so many ways to get his foot in the door and show and gain confidence of the people that are hiring him, which is essentially what you did. You got the Mellow Mafia to trust you, and then next thing you know, we're in studios. Next thing you know, you're engineering, and it all started because you could tune a guitar. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I think today's world might have a need for that approach.
Let me ask this question. Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, yeah, and I think that there's a couple things that come to mind in the world we live in today, and the people that I see that are successful, young people that are successful, don't subscribe to the narcissistic me generation type mentality, which is a modern mentality. The old school mentality of humility and focus and the things that I think still matter are the things that are, along with the technical, which is fine. It's not going to be what you know that gets you hired. It's who you are.
Great point.
Who you are being at the point when you show up in front of someone for whatever job it is you're showing up
Great
for.
point.
So who you are is going to be, now what you know is like a backdrop that if you go to the right school and they teach you the important things to know, the things that you are still supported by those schools. Like the good schools don't just go, all right, this is how you use Pro Tools, or because there's a lot of the why. That's a really important question that's never, it's like in the backdrop of it. So when someone comes and wants a job with me, I'm going to be more looking at who they are and who are they going to be. And
See, I mean, you're a point that Dave, as he's looking for an assistant, and the other things that we talk about and we look at in our team, it's who you are as a person is it's half the battle. Like if you got all the technical skills and your people thing is not happening, you're not going anyplace.
Well, you might be going into a cubicle to just edit something, or just that job might be there for you because I mean, I think everybody, and I when I was down at Blackbird last month, a couple of weeks ago, I dusted off this quote. It was an Oscar Wilde quote, one of my favorite ones, which is, "Just be yourself. Everybody else is already taken."
Right. Oh, that's great.
So you can't be somebody you're not.
That's
if you have
really
no
great.
people skills, but you know that you want to do something, then find the niche that fits you. But if you're going to be in a job that means you interact with people, for the most part, not just one person, but multiple people, because like our job is we got to deal with the artist and we got to deal with a producer or multiple artists and everybody involved in a project. So if you have no people skills, you might as well just...
And Dr. Phil's skills, too.
Well, that's it.
That's part of it. That's part of it.
And I believe that psychology is crucial. Like, just understand.
Oh, you guys are all master psychologists.
Yeah, you gotta understand.
As a manager, I would hire you guys actually to do problem solving that I couldn't get done. Because, well, here's why. An artist in that environment with you is way more open at that point in time. He trusts you with his craft, with his baby. And there's times where you can have conversations to hit things. I used to do that with him all the time. He didn't know I was doing it. I was like, this guy's not telling me yes. Dave, why don't you ask him about this, that, and the other? And the guy would come back and go, yeah, Dave got me to do it. I was like, my man. So it is a big skill that you got.
Dave, don't you love it when someone gives you a record to mix and they say, don't listen to the rough mixes, don't even bother, they're totally unimportant, just ignore them,
gosh.
just do your thing, just don't even listen to them. I'm actually not even going to send them to you, and you go, no, I know they're unimportant, and I won't even listen to them, but why don't you send them anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know that if you change the panning on one guitar,
You're out of here. It's over.
hey Dave, I love that song.
Right.
I love everything about that song except.
But exactly, so true. Before I ask you to send it home,
Okay.
Rossi, we got you scheduled for stuff coming up. We talked to you about, right? Thank you for blessing us and gracing us in our. You've embarked on all of our endeavors with us, and it's really special for us.
I'm
man.
here with you.
No question.
And once again, thanks for having me here as your first guest in this amazing space. And you guys are on a roll, man. You're going somewhere special, and I want to be there with you.
You all know you're with us, man. We're not going without you. And really quickly before Dave takes us home, shout out to Team Pensado.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
They have just been extraordinary.
As always.
Congrats to our director, Jonathan Dean, who is now the Chief Technology Officer of Westlake Pro Audio, but carved out space, or Westlake Audio Pro, but carved out space to make sure he directs our show, which is really special. All of our guys are growing and doing great stuff, and we're challenging them to come
By
up
the
with
way,
more.
the poster child for variety and audio is the ponytail up there that I can see through the window. Our boy Cole
doing his
Nystrom is
thing.
like...
Everybody is. We picked up some new folks along the way. Chongor is over there doing his thing.
Absolutely.
So for Dave and I, thank you guys in terms of your commitment to what we're doing. To our audience, we're here because of you. And we got a lot planned, man. So what we're going to do is have a really good time. And we're going to grow and learn and be sexy and do show business and ask you to come to stuff. And we're going to give you stuff. And we're just going to, you keep pushing us and we'll keep pushing you. Dave, take us home.
Man, I'm glad you said the word push. Ross has this concept of ruthless compassion and pushing people to give 200%. And check him out. Go online. Read about that concept. There's a really good article. I forget what magazine it was, but it'll come up in the top 5 or 6 Google hits that you do. The other thing I want to share with you guys is nobody learns more from this show than me. I sometimes think I know it all, and then I'll sit across from a cat like Ross, and I just learn new things every time, and not just with Ross, but the 200 and some odd guests that I've sat and talked with Herb. Has just made me a seriously better mixer, and I wasn't too bad to start with. So imagine what it can do for you guys. All right, unless you're already Ross.
Unless you're Ross Hogarth.
Hey, listen, guys, we had a blast hanging with you today. Thanks for being patient with us. We got a little emotional. I did. This is symbolic and also very real representative of a lot of hard work on Herb's part, and a tiny bit on mine. And of course, a lot of sacrifices by the team. So,
and thank you to our sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.